History Things podcast, a conversational approach to discussing social, industrial, maritime, music, and military history. Join us and our special guests as we dive down the rabbit holes of your favorite stories from the past. Follow the History Things podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or online at Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Be sure to leave a review and a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast app. Pat and Parker are coming right up. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the History Things podcast. I'm Pat McGuire, joined as always by my co-host, the ambassador from Maine himself, Parker Russell. What's going on, big guy?
Derigo, everybody. That's the Maine state motto, for those of you who did not know.
What does that even mean?
It means I lead.
Okay.
Yeah, which is kind of ironic because you led us into this episode. So.
Can you actually just tell me what Maine leads in, other than like being
economic
strange?
Depression.
Okay.
Unemployment. And,
okay.
It is the highest in worst state education.
Are you sure? Okay, because I was saying, we have friends from West Virginia who will tell you that they are grateful for Alabama existing
right.
when in terms of talks about terrible education systems. So.
I believe, I could be wrong, but I think at one point in the late 90s, we actually achieved number 50.
Oh my goodness. Well, listen here, at the end of the day, fund your damn educational systems, people. Jeez, people want to learn stuff, but we're not here to bitch about stuff like that or talk about how strange Maine is. We are going to probably get into more New England topics for you, Parker, just because it might not have occurred to you, but our guest today is a fellow New Englander.
Really?
A person of the chowder, so to speak.
All right.
We are here today not to talk about a deep historical topic. We're here to get to know a deep historical person. And that is a good friend of ours, new staff member to the show, somebody who behind the scenes is going to help us stop being the knuckleheads that we are, get a little bit more organized, kind of build some structure when we're working on really large episodes and producing these gigantic ones, such as this season already, our Cunard episode, things like that. So we are joined today by brand new team member, researcher Robyn Weir, fellow New Englander. How are you, Robyn? Welcome to the History Things podcast.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Very excited to have you on.
Yeah, it's good to be finally on camera with you. This is our first official.
You guys are meeting right now.
Yeah, this is our first official meetup. So
tip of the cap
welcome
to you
aboard.
All. What part of New England do you hail from? We know very well established territory that Parker is from Maine. Are you from Maine?
No, but I'm very familiar with Maine.
Okay.
Actually from Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. It's neither a road or an island.
And it's very teeny weeny.
And it's still more significant than Delaware, so it's totally fine.
But yeah, very familiar with Maine. What part of Maine are you from?
I was born in Blue Hill Hospital. Oh, cue the sunrise music.
No.
Here we go.
No.
I was born on a cold October's day.
This is a shorty. This is the shorty, boys and girls.
I'm a Hancock County boy. Right near where Joshua Chamberlain was born in Brewer.
I knew it. I knew you were going to bring up Chamberlain. You can't not.
That's in my contract. Well, it's on the birth certificate. Anytime you can bring up Whoopie Pies, Lobster, or Joshua Chamberlain, you have to. We have a bridge in Brewer named it's a Joshua Chamberlain Bridge. You've got to do it.
We spend summers when we lived back in Rhode Island. We go up and spend summers in Brunswick. So
there you go. Yep. There's
our Chamberlain. History.
I wish we were recording on our normal rig. I would just mute Parker right now. He's talking about Maine so much. I would just shut that down. Robyn, it's very exciting to talk to you. We're actually a long time coming to this episode. We wanted to introduce you, researcher Robyn, to our audience earlier this summer. Right. Plans were in place. And then a whole bunch of malarkey gets in the way, from like terrible road experiences to just sicknesses and all that. In getting to finally get you here for what is now going to be our Black Friday bonus episode. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. I hope your plates are full of the bounty and you're all pasted up in food comas on your couches. And since it's Black Friday, obviously you're enjoying the classic leftovers. But Robyn, getting to know you a little bit, first and foremost, like every guest of this show, we like to know what your origin story is. How did you just come to find out that you were a big history geek like the rest of
It
us?
goes back to at least elementary school. My grandparents on my dad's side, they were big travelers. They did Doctors Without Borders. And so they were constantly traveling, sending us things from their travels. And when they would actually, be stateside and they'd spend time with us, a lot of the things that they do are like take us to historical places. One of the big trips that kind of really solidified it for me, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, was when they took me to DC for the first time.
That was a curveball. I thought you were going to mention a different place that 90%
No,
of our guests mentioned about being in Pennsylvania.
no.
I literally thought so. When you said DC, I was like, I
Yeah.
felt like that Scarlett Johansson meme where I was just like, oh, that was a curveball. DC, that's really cool. We've had a few random ones, like me was Harper's Ferry, a bunch of other people in sites out west, but a ton of Gettysburg ones. What was it about DC when you were a kid that you remember kind of sticking out to you?
I think going through the Smithsonian and
yeah.
the Museum of American History, that right there, like seeing like just like the tangible like pieces of history right in front of you, being able to see those things, it just makes it so much more real. And then just, as a kid, like, I would read like history books like they were going out of fashion. Those are like my
Your
big
jams.
Yeah, big time.
Right.
And then, I think a lot of it also had to do with, where I grew up, being, in Rhode Island, literally a stone's throw away from Newport.
Right.
And then the Boston area. So, just kind of, yeah.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, just like growing up, like I said, like in Rhode Island and in the New England area, it just kind of became like a little bit of like a history vulture, just kind of picking off that rich carcass of history that, is like Newport, and then going up to like Lexington and Concord, and then all just the kind of like the niche like things about Rhode Island history itself, like with the burning of the Gaspee,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
So
did you just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you just say picking off?
I did. That's a really gross analogy.
It was
a vulture picking off the carcass of history.
I mean, honestly, it makes sense. I understood what
I love it. No, I it's great. I like that.
The purpose of an analogy is to keep you there. I was there.
I like it. Yeah. I get it.
Gotcha.
It's interesting though, because when I think of New England, my brain automatically goes to the 18th century and thinks about the War of Independence a lot. When I met you in the context of the 19th century and our mutual affinities for Civil War studies. I quickly learned you're one of the coolest people I know. We're birthday twins. That's solid. But I got to know you through talking about kind of like New England troops in the War of the Rebellion, the American Civil War. Did you have like a favorite sort of, because I can tell you, like, depending on the season of my life, I'm a Civil War geek or I'm a First World War geek. And because of my profession, I've been turning into a deep 18th century geek over the last several years and things like that. So as a kid, as a young woman, did you ever just like have this is my favorite era and I do other things? Or were you just broad across like all of these experiences and centuries all at once?
I think I glommed on to Rev War history, like right off the bat. Again, just that New England influence. And then World War II, of course.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, big time. And another thing I have in common with the two of you, mega Titanic nerd.
Hell yeah, I do remember that. You were one of the people in that community of people we met through the Addressing Gettysburg podcast years ago when we were talking about our White Star episode. You were one of the people that was most jazzed for it. One, I appreciate that. And two, I remember you and I had some very substantive conversations about things. And that was like a really like cool way to kind of get to know you, was kind of how you were thinking about this very important and complex story. When we go back through the script and we revisit Titanic in our near future, and you're a part of that episode, we'll talk more about just sort of some of your thoughts and things like that. So I always like to know the origin story. So that's cool. A trip to DC. You grew up in this very vibrant New England history, this Rev War history. What do you do as you grow and you encounter all these things? Do you put them in buckets? Do you research them all continuously? Or do you live kind of like I'm living in the seasons of my life? Right now, I'm in this 18th century mode.
Yeah, like during COVID, I just dove right into Civil War history. And that kind of also kind of culminated with like a move down south. I think having grown up in New England, we don't have like that more tangible bit of Civil War history to kind of glom onto. So having moved south, first to Charleston, I was there for about a year, and then here to Virginia, we have like Civil War history just coming out of our ears. I mean, I literally drive to the grocery store and I pass like a siege line, or some area where a battery once was. It's just because I'm surrounded by so much of it, I want to like just kind of soak it all in and research as much as I can.
Sure.
And so that's kind of been me for a little while, but I feel like I'm kind of gravitating more back to Rev War history, especially with just like the current events of things and
Yep.
The relevance.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
We read the Intolerable Acts a lot. So before we get into anything more substantive, I've already been into the derail because Parker chimed in with his Red Sox. You're a New Englander.
You got to get this dig in, don't you? I know it.
We don't get no digs, because at the time of recording, we're all watching. Both of our teams are sitting at home right now. But
Yeah.
Are you a Red Sox fan?
That's like,
I gotta ask. I know this answer personally, but you got to put it out there for the listeners.
yeah, a proud Red Sox fan.
Absolutely terrible decision maker, Robyn, researcher Robyn. That's all you just heard.
Slow clapping.
Dude, so Parker has been adopting the Nationals because as he lives down here and actually engages with the sport more, he's becoming a Nats fan. But when I met him, he did right away establish that he is a son of the chowder and the Red Sox were his thing. So let it be said, for the record, in this moment, out of the 4 people that are associated with this show, there is an Orioles fan in my wife, there is a Yankees fan in me, and then there's you 2 knuckleheads who root for the Red Sox, and thus we are outnumbered. But this show represents the American League East, so get out of here. If you don't root for the AL East, you're not allowed to listen to the show. That's not true. We love you when you listen to this show. Are you New England across the board? Are you baseball only? Are you a Pats fan? Do you roll like that?
No, I fucking hate the Pats.
Okay.
I'm
Strong.
so sick of hearing
Fair
about
enough.
the Patriots. I'll root for Green Bay if I have to.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I've got family from the Midwest, so
Okay, that makes sense.
that's how that kind of just comes.
So,
Oh,
like,
wow.
here, just so you know, if you're tired of hearing about the Patriots, get ready for it. They're becoming good again. You're going to hear about them a lot. So it's coming.
But wait, there's another football player besides Brady?
As you understand, all of us, that history, while it maybe doesn't repeat itself, it kind of works in cycles that seem repetitious. New England's about to be good again, guys. So watch out. Jumping out of sports, because half of our listeners can't handle sports conversations. They're barely tolerating our awesome baseball ones. So
That's the intolerable acts that they say.
there's an intolerable act on the show. They wrote it in their declaration. As we don't listen to the show anymore, he talks about sports beyond the seas. So I know you listen to a number of podcasts. You are a good thinker of things. What is it about? I'm not asking about working with our show, but like, what do you think is the value of historical podcasting? And what excites you about being a part of our little humble venture here?
I think mostly just the education and being able to educate people with a proper like understanding of history. And, I've been a big advocate for making history interesting because there's been so many times, at least throughout my life, where I've encountered people and I've tried to have this like conversation about something interesting with history. And they're like, oh, I hate history. Like it was high school history that ruined it for me. It's because it wasn't taught with passion or with like some interest behind it. I don't think it was taught the right way. And I think through, something like a podcast like this, you can make it exciting. You can make it engaging. You can have good conversations that are, thought provoking. And you can cover any topic that you want to talk about. And I think that's probably why I'm so interested with getting involved with you guys is, being kind of part of this catalyst, to, getting the information out there and making history seem exciting like it is. So
for sure is. So one of the things we're going to be doing with you that is an on camera, on microphone feature, because we know most of what you're going to do with the show is going to be behind the scenes. Like we said, we cannot overstate how important and how grateful I am personally about how you helped us with the Cunard episode. That episode was literally as big as the Titanic one, but I was able to put it together just as thoroughly, but much more quickly because of the outlines and the structures and some of the notations you made for us. So first of all, thank you. The idea is already in practice and successful in the show.
Well, it went together a little faster because it wasn't you and Matt crushing my dreams like every 5 minutes.
That's true.
That's
true.
That was different dreams. No, it was.
There was Parker going, wait, that's a trope that's not real too?
Yeah.
God damn it. The entire time we built that episode. So just moving forward, one of the things we're going to be doing on mic, on camera, is going to be the rundown. Rundown is going to basically be what Robyn's thinking, working, just kind of putting through her brain on in history. So for the very first time on the History Things podcast, it's the rundown with Robyn.
All right, so the first thing I guess that I have been kind of looking at is just, I don't know, it's kind of like a random fact, a random rabbit hole thing. I was like on the Discovery app one night, and I think I was just like completely over binge watching Oak Island. And so I was like starting to look for other things, and I came across this show, and it was a show where like this guy, he takes cabins, like he takes like old cabins and he like refurbishes them.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, yeah, he really interesting. But he went kind of on like this like side quest on the show, and he ended up visiting this business that makes the kind of history nerd like neon flashing sign. And by what I mean by that are the historical markers. So,
yeah.
Yeah. So how many times have you been driving down the road and you'll see one and, you know, screech? Yeah. You never know, like, where the hell do these things come from? So apparently it's this company based out of Marietta, Ohio, called Siwa Signs. And they're the one company, I guess, that makes like the most historical markers in the whole country.
Whoa.
So like basically, if you see like a historical marker sign, like, I don't know, I've seen them, you know, down in South Carolina, Virginia, Rhode Island, all up the East Coast. They're responsible for making these signs.
So I didn't realize that it was like A, an industry behind that.
Yes. Yeah.
And B, that there might be more than one company that does that.
Yeah.
And that there is an industry titan.
Yeah. Yeah. Who would have thought? It was just kind of like a random rabbit hole thing that I went down because, I mean, I like break for the sign of like a historical marker. I think that's probably the reason like my brakes are so shot because I'm constantly pulling over.
You need a bumper sticker that says I brake for historical markers.
I do.
So that's kind of neat. So does they in kind of pursuing that, do they talk about things like how they update signs or anything? Like I never even thought about this concept. So already the concept of the rundown has worked for me because something you're randomly working on has now got my brain asking a million questions. Like, what about signs that need updating? There's like a whole industry here.
It is, and it's actually like through like a somewhat like mini foundry of sorts. They're like iron signs that there's this whole process where they get like cast in sand and then painted afterwards. Highly recommend looking at it, like trying to find a video for it. It's so interesting.
So do these guys actually do the research that goes into the signs, or do, you know, somebody like me, let's just say if I worked for like some town or historical society, do they just like call up and say, hey, I want you to put X, Y, and Z on the sign? Or do they go, hey, this is Parker from Nowheresville, Maine. Something important happened here. Go research it. And then they put Joe Schmo out on the hood, you know, the trail to track it down.
That's a good question. Do they research it themselves or do they just kind of take the script?
I think from what I understood of the episode, they have like historical committees or like tourism boards that will approach them with like already written, you know, for the sign, and then they put it together. But it's very meticulous because you think about all the little words and the letters, each of those are placed on the sign, so it takes them forever to get these signs produced, but it was like super fascinating.
Nice.
We are definitely doing an episode on historical signage, like 100%. That is going to happen because I need to know more about this industry, and in 30 seconds of this I am already willing to bet there's a super awesome topic to discuss. What else you got for us in the rundown?
Let's see. I've been reading this book by all people. Do you remember the journalist Cokie Roberts?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Did you know she's like a really well-established author? She wrote this great book called Founding Mothers, and I've been kind of diving into this a little bit because it basically goes into the women who kind of stood beside, their husbands, in this kind of colonial area, pre-revolutionary era. And two women in particular that I found pretty interesting were Eliza Pinckney and then, of course, Deborah Franklin, Benjamin Franklin's wife.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Eliza Pinckney, she was really cool because she ran 3 plantations pre-Revolutionary War down in South Carolina. She was very integral in bringing the indigo trade to South Carolina. And making it work. She's basically the reason why indigo was one of the most important cash crops for southern colonial colonies at the time. So she's a pretty incredible woman. And then reading a little bit about Deborah Franklin and how freaking tolerant this woman was with Benjamin Franklin.
Her husband is Ben Franklin. Say no more. That man is a man of vices.
He is.
It's like he woke up every morning and had like this wheel of vices behind him, right? And just spun it. What are we going to do today? And
like hammered and chase young women in France.
Like,
that's what I'm going to do.
The image in my head is like he purposely like spun it in front of her just to like rub it in her face. And it was like tick, 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 tick.
Oh my goodness! So tell us about Mrs. Franklin.
Just her story is really interesting with just how tolerant she was of, Benjamin Franklin's, exploits and things. Like there was a period of time where Franklin had been overseas for 10 years, and she all but gave up on him. But she continued, to run the businesses back home. The postal service. There was a time where she, fought a mob of angry people away from the house. She was just a completely, amazing woman at the time for dealing with all this stuff that she did. So I don't know. I found her super fascinating. And
I love that.
I also put up with Benjamin Franklin.
Yeah, well, also sometimes you get as much as I love Benjamin Franklin's eccentricities and things like that. I also sometimes remember that he's kind of a dirtbag at moments in his life. That's like abandonment, which I think was a crime in some portions of the colonies.
But think about all the work he did in repopulating France.
And that's why is she so tolerant of this man? Yeah.
Oh my God, Parker, that's good.
That's a historical fact. You can look that up.
Oh my goodness. So very cool. So we're going to be doing a lot of really good work going into next year, Robyn. We're going to be focusing on a bunch of new topics. We're going to be taking more trips into the field than our normal annual one. Let's do a little teasing of one we're trying to work out in production right now. You have put us in contact with the museum. We are slowly working out how to get ourselves to this place north of the Mason-Dixon line. Tell us about a kind of special episode that's in production mode right now for next season for the show.
So you'd be referring to the Doan story. Yes. Yeah. So got in connection with this historian at the Mercer Museum. And I forget what town it is. Maybe it's Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And he's been very integral in telling this story of the Doan brothers, who kind of were on the other side of history. Basically, they were loyalists and they were robbers, and their story kind of just centers around, trying to, avenge the Patriot cause and, things like that. And it's crazy. It's a really crazy, interesting story that I think definitely merits worth telling on the podcast.
When you brought it to us, I closed my eyes and kind of thought about it, and I always kept putting it in the American West in the 1860s, but it's not. It is a full 80, 90 years before, and it is a very different. They're wearing breeches, and they're not wearing dusters and shooting cowboy guns, but a lot of their story feels like a cowboy kind of outlaw experience. So we're very excited because we're not just going to bring this to you as a podcast. The goal next season is to get onto the location and actually explore some of the grounds that the story of these two brothers and their associated gang and things like that kind of operated in. So I'm actually really excited about that. Going into next year, Robyn, are there any personal topics you want to see us cover here on the show?
That's a good question. I know you posted a little while back about a quiz on your Instagram.
That's right.
Yeah, I would definitely like to see some talk about the soldiers of the Boston Massacre. That'd be pretty interesting.
Honestly, a lot of people in our country forget that John Adams was the lawyer that defended them.
Yeah,
in their
and I think
case.
that's an amazing story because he was committed to.
He believes in the law.
He believes in the law. He's committed to the truth.
To a fault.
Yeah, and you know, some of the things that made him a bad president made him a good human.
I won't call John Adams a bad president. You can't do that.
He's similar to...
You hater of John Adams.
Not at all.
The ghost of Abigail Adams is going to beat the shit out of you now.
Well, you know, I would love to talk to Abigail Adams too. She sounds like...
And it's going to be Laura Linney Abigail Adams that beats the shit out of you. Well, as of the time of this, so as of recording, the poll has not closed. But as the time of release of this, the poll has closed. But we have not released the results of that yet. So I can't lie to you and say we already know, because as we're recording this, I have no idea what the poll's going to bring us. But by the time you're hearing this, just know that you should definitely tune in to our year-end episode where we are going to have our holiday party and things like that, because we will announce what the results of that poll will be. That's the Kyle Dalton annual experience. I can tell you that as much as I want to listen to a story about that, that's not the one I'm going to be voting for.
Okay, all right.
Robyn, are we going to get you in studio for our year end, hopefully?
I hope so, yeah.
So we get you up here in the War Department. We're going to have you, hopefully my wife and Parker will sit down here and be festive, kind of look back on this insane first year of the 2.0 version of the History Things podcast, where Parker and I literally just dominated the world. We were everywhere we could possibly be.
Do you have your belt? Do you have the belt, the podcasting belt handy?
I have my championship belt, which is...
Mine is down there with you somewhere, so you can just have yours.
Both the championship belts are on the wall. There's one right there, and the other one is off camera, so I won't be moving that. But yeah, no, for sure, we are definitely the world champions of podcasting, regardless of the size of our show or not. It's just until you have a belt and are ready to go to the steel cage, we're the champs. That's all I have. Robyn, it's been very, very awesome to have you on board. When I kind of threw this idea at you and you were immediately like, yeah, I'd love to do that. That honestly was a great feeling, and it was a huge relief, because as this show is growing, one thing that is becoming apparent is we will need help. And while we are a very humble show, we will need help from people that really just enjoy being a part of storytelling.
Also, if you know any psychiatrists, that's
definitely if you know any psychiatrists, we're interested in.
Pat and I are also interested in joining couples therapy.
Yeah. Are we? No, I'm just kidding. I was fine with this thing tanking, you know? No, we're very excited going into next season to be a more full team. So we thank you for joining us. We're very excited to have you on board, and we thank you for the efforts already put in. And we cannot wait to see just sort of how this show grows, with finally having some organization and structure and a team that believes in it behind it. So any final words for you on getting to know Robyn? Anything you want to tell our listeners about you that is just like, you got to know it. From day one, you need to know this about me.
I mean, another big component of my history nerdum, big on archaeology. Big on archaeology and kind of studying right now, like what's been going on in Williamsburg, colonial Williamsburg. So maybe kind of filling everyone in on, you know, what's been going on down there at some point as well.
I have a friend that went to the Jamestown site, like the actual historical site, and he came back absolutely electric about the archaeological work that's going on down there. And I believe talking about a young woman named Jane, who is one of the unfortunate victims of the terrible winters that the Jamestown colony endured. Very tragic but fascinating story to look back on. So when you say that, I already feel some of the electricity because of my friend who came back with that. So that is awesome. So archaeology is your jam. Have you ever found a dinosaur?
Paleontology.
See, this is why we do history. I don't know science.
So many people make that mistake. That's paleontology.
So I mean, they both come out
Ross
of the ground.
Geller judges you.
I mean, isn't it an archaeological thing because it comes out of the ground?
I mean, in the same way as that, like, coffee's a vegetable. I mean,
Coffee's
because
a
it's
vegetable?
Organically grown.
No, I've never heard coffee as a vegetable. Coffee
No,
is
it's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not. It's.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying.
Bro,
it's
you
not.
just like. I don't even know what that was. That was like.
Okay,
trying
what I'm
to-
saying is saying that paleontology is archaeology.
I'm not
saying
saying that.
Oh, okay.
But isn't things
Professor
coming out of the
I
ground
apologize.
archaeology?
Yeah, it is, but it's more so the study of, the past, like human past.
Okay.
And things like that. Paleontology is dinosaur bones.
Look, this is why I do the show, so I can learn just as much as I can teach. And I didn't know that, and now I am better for it. So
Yeah.
thank you, researcher Robyn.
There you go. That's why we need a researcher.
You're
Can you
paying
work on-
dividends. You're paying dividends right out of the gate, Robyn. Our listeners are already grateful you're here. It's just like my wife. My wife behind the scenes is the corraller of this insanity. So my wife will be grateful to have you on board to help corral this stupidity and madness and all those things. So I'm very excited. Season 7 is fast approaching. We all here together, Robyn, Parker, my wife Danielle, we all hope that you've enjoyed your holidays as the season kicks off. Spooky season was a lot of fun. We can't wait to kind of wrap that up in our year end. We definitely have enjoyed our holidays so far. We look forward to the rest of them coming up. And we look forward to sharing our holiday show and year end with all of you as we kind of wind down on season 6 and turn our attention laser focused on season 7. So for our esteemed guest and new team member, researcher Robyn, for my co-host with the most, Parker W. Russell. That's a fake
That's
middle name.
not my middle.
That's a fake nickname I gave
This
him,
is
middle
why we need
initial.
couples therapy.
That's right.
That's it.
I'm your host, Pat McGuire. This is the History Things podcast saying we will catch you all later.
Keep your stick on the ice.